This video features the best brawlers you need to be playing in October 2025. With the new season and the new brawler, let's see how much the meta has shifted so far. Alright guys, the first brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Jae-young. Now Jae-young is still at the top of the meta because of his dual mode mechanic. His dual mode mechanic lets Jae-young switch between speeding up him and his teammates or healing up him and his teammates with a different attack. Using the right mode at the right time allows him to control space and support teammates effectively. Mastering this balance is what makes him so difficult to counter and keeps him at the top of the meta. Now not only is Jae-young going to be good with his dual form mechanic, but he is just a great support brawler as well. He can zone enemies and pressure them while keeping his teammates safe, which makes team coordination much easier. His attacks and abilities allow him to adapt to different situations, whether it's defending objectives or pushing forward. Learning when to focus on supporting allies versus dealing damage is key to maximizing his effectiveness in the current meta. Now what's also really good about Jae-young is he's such a versatile brawler that can be used pretty much anywhere. He can switch between dealing damage, controlling space, and supporting teammates, making him effective in almost any scenario. His flexibility allows players to adjust their strategy on the fly depending on the map or game mode. Understanding when to change roles during a match is what makes him such a reliable and adaptable brawler. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Bren. Now Bren is still at the top because of his new hypercharge unstable concoction. This new hypercharge gives Bren a burst of damage that can quickly turn the tide of a fight. It allows him to pressure enemies while still staying safe behind his allies, making his presence on the battlefield even more threatening. Timing the hypercharge correctly is crucial as it can punish overextended opponents and create openings for his team to secure objectives. Now what I personally love about Bren is he is such a versatile brawler in the game. He can heal teammates from a distance while simultaneously damaging enemies, giving him a unique dual role in any team composition. This flexibility allows him to adapt to fast changing situations, whether it's protecting allies or applying pressure to opposing teams. Knowing when to focus on healing versus attacking is what separates average players from those who can fully leverage his versatility. Now hands down, without a doubt, ever since Bren got his hypercharge, he turned into the best support brawler in the game. Bren's healing abilities let him keep teammates in the fight longer, giving his team a clear advantage in objective-based modes. He can also chip away at enemies' health from a distance, forcing them to play more cautiously. Timing his heals and attacks effectively can completely change the outcome of a match, making him an invaluable support brawler. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Ollie. Now Ollie is broken right now because of his new hypercharge 8.5 supering. This new hypercharge lets Ollie unleash his super much faster, giving him a huge advantage in controlling fights. He can pressure enemies constantly and force them to play more cautiously, and this makes it easier for his team to dominate objectives. Timing the hypercharge effectively can quickly turn the tide of a match and catch opponents off guard. Now without a doubt, Ollie is definitely still one of the best tanks throughout all of Brawl Stars. Ollie's high health and strong close range attacks let him absorb damage while staying a constant threat to the enemies. His abilities allow him to control key areas, making it difficult for opponents to push objectives or escape. Knowing when to engage and when to pull back is crucial for maximizing his impact as a tank in every match. Now the whole reason why Ollie is still going to be a pretty good brawler to play is thanks to his super. Ollie's super allows him to quickly close gaps or disrupt enemy formations, giving his team a strategic advantage. Using it at the right moment can force opponents out of position and create opportunities for teammates to score or control objectives. Mastering the timing and placement of his super is what makes him effective in many matches. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Cordelius. Now Cordelius is near the top because he's a great counter to pretty much any aggressive brawler in the game. Cordelius can punish aggressive brawlers with his high damage output and ranged attacks, making it risky for the enemies to overcommit. His abilities let him control space effectively, forcing the opponents to rethink their positioning and strategy. Learning how to anticipate enemy moves and capitalize on their aggression is what keeps him near the top of the current meta. Now without a doubt, the thing that makes Cordelius really strong is going to be his super. Cordelius' super allows him to send the enemy into the Shadow Realm and get into that 1v1 fight. It can break enemy formations and force opponents to retreat, creating opportunities for his teammates to capitalize on. Timing and positioning his super effectively is key to making the most of his strengths and dominating the battlefield. Now something that makes Cordelius' super even better and just makes Cordelius better in general is going to be his hypercharge. Cordelius' hypercharge drastically enhances his super, letting him do even more damage and control the battlefield more effectively. It can catch multiple enemies off guard, turning the tide of fights and securing objectives for his team. Knowing the right moment to activate the hypercharge is crucial for maximizing its impact and keeping opponents on their toes. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Lumi. Now Lumi is still a great brawler because of her versatility. Lumi can adapt to both offensive and defensive roles, making her valuable in nearly any team composition. Her attacks allow her to control space and pressure enemies while also supporting teammates when needed. Learning when to switch between aggressive and supportive play is key to getting the most out of her versatility. What's also really good about Lumi is her build, like she has 2 great gadgets and a really good star power in halftime. Lumi's gadgets give her the tools to outplay opponents and create advantages in tricky situations. Her halftime star power slows enemies when she recalls her maces, increasing her chances of taking down the enemies in a fight. Using both effectively can keep her alive longer and turn small skirmishes into big opportunities for her team. Now I know a lot of people don't really talk about it, but Lumi does have a hypercharge, and that does help her status at least a little bit at the top of the meta. Lumi's hypercharge enhances her super, making her even more effective in controlling fights and supporting her team. It allows her to maintain pressure on enemies while staying safe, which is crucial in high level play. Timing the hypercharge correctly can turn close battles in her team's favor and keep her competitive in the current meta. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Bonnie. Now Bonnie is extremely good now because of her hypercharge Daredevil. Bonnie's hypercharge explodes teeth when she takes off and when she lands, making it easier for her to eliminate enemies or escape dangerous situations. This increased mobility lets her control the pace of fights and surprise opponents who think they're safe. Using Daredevil at the right moment can secure kills and give her team a significant advantage in battles. Now of course, with Bonnie being a marksman, and some people think she's still an assassin but she's not, she's going to be very good to play in those more opened up maps. Bonnie can take advantage of open maps by using her long range attacks to control space and pressure enemies from a distance. Her mobility and attack range allow her to move quickly between targets and support teammates across the map. Positioning carefully and predicting enemy movements is key to maximizing her effectiveness in these wide open environments. Now the good thing about Bonnie is using her super to take down any weak target or squishy opponent. Bonnie can quickly take out weaker or squishy opponents with their high damage output, making her a constant threat. Her super forces these enemies to play more cautiously, giving her team more control over objectives. Timing her super to catch them off guard is what makes her so effective at punishing overextended opponents. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Kenji. Now Kenji is still really good thanks to his hypercharge all you can eat. Kenji's hypercharge makes his super even bigger and pulls the enemies in, helping him team wipe the enemies in no time. This allows him to stay in battles longer and pressure enemies without constantly retreating. Using the hypercharge at the right moment can turn skirmishes in his team's favor and make him a major threat on the map. Now I know a lot of people are probably not going to agree with Kenji still being in the S tier or being a top meta brawler, but he's still going to be a great option to run in more closed off maps. Kenji can take advantage of tight spaces to ambush enemies and deal heavy damage quickly. His mobility allows him to dodge attacks while closing in on squishy targets, making him deadly in confined areas. Positioning carefully and predicting enemy movements is key to maximizing his impact on closed off maps. Now I know Kenji has gone through so many nerfs, but he is still definitely in the top of the meta. Kenji's consistent damage output and mobility keeps him effective even after multiple nerfs. Skilled players can still leverage his abilities to control fights and punish opponents who make mistakes. Understanding his strengths and timing his attacks properly is what allows him to remain a top tier brawler despite the setbacks. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Hank. Now Hank is a strong brawler because of his ability to attack through walls. The fact that Hank's main attacks can go through walls lets him pressure enemies even when they think they're safe behind cover. This makes it difficult for opponents to control space or retreat without taking damage. Timing his attacks and predicting enemy movements is key to fully utilizing this unique advantage in battles. Now another reason why Hank is still very popular in the meta is a lot of maps in the current map pool cater to his kit. Hank can adapt his playstyle depending on the layout of the map, whether it's tight corridors or open spaces. His attacks and abilities allow him to control key areas and pressure enemies effectively. Learning how to use his kit strategically on each map is what makes him so reliable in the current rotation. Now what's also great about Hank is his super because it allows him to protect himself against close range brawlers and also heal him up at the same time. Hank's super lets him quickly close the gap and deal heavy damage to close range brawlers, keeping threats at bay. Using it at the right moment can disrupt enemy pushes and give him space to reposition safely. Timing and accuracy are crucial to making most of his super and ensuring his survival in intense fights. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Kaze. Now Kaze remains as one of the best brawlers in the game because of her dual form mechanic. Kaze's dual form mechanic allows her to switch between long range and close range attacks, making her adaptable to any situation. This flexibility lets her pressure enemies from a distance or dive in for quick eliminations when needed. Mastering the timing of her form changes is key to controlling fights and staying ahead of opponents. Now Kaze is even stronger thanks to her different hypercharges that she has. Kaze's hypercharges enhance her abilities, giving her more options to adapt to different situations in battle. They can boost her damage output, mobility, or survivability, making her a bigger threat to opponents. Using these hypercharges strategically allows her to dominate fights and maintain an edge over other brawlers. Now I know a lot of people are going to argue saying that Kaze is a higher skill cap brawler, but she definitely has the potential if you are willing to take the time to learn her. Kaze's abilities reward players who can master timing, positioning, and form switching, making her a higher skill cap brawler. Skilled players can use her versatility to control space, deal massive damage, and outplay opponents in creative ways. Investing the time to learn her mechanics can make her one of the most powerful and satisfying brawlers to play. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Mina. Now Mina is the best brawler in the game because of how strong her mechanics are. Mina's mechanics allow her to control the battlefield by quickly clearing obstacles and dealing consistent damage over time. Her attacks can force enemies to reposition, giving her team space to push objectives or regroup. Mastering her abilities and understanding how to pressure opponents effectively is what makes her so dominant in matches. Now the good thing about Mina is she has two amazing gadgets to choose from. Mina's gadgets give her extra tools to control fights and create opportunities for her team. They can help her escape dangerous situations or deal burst damage to enemies depending on what's needed at the moment. Choosing the right gadget at the right time can turn the tide of a battle and maximize her impact on the map. Now not only does Mina have two great gadgets to choose from, but she has two great star powers to choose from as well. Mina's star powers give her added versatility, allowing her to either improve her damage output or improve her survivability in fights. They can change how she approaches battles, letting her pressure enemies more effectively or stay in the fight longer. Understanding when to use each star power can make her even more dominant on the battlefield. Well anyway guys, if you guys enjoyed that video, I highly recommend you guys go check out this video right here.